Hello everybody. In this video, I'm going to be talking about something interesting which I just found out. And this is that Christopher Latham, his name is, was an inventor, and he invented not only the typewriter, but also our current keyboard. So you know the computer keyboard that you have used to be the same type of keyboard that was on the original or the old typewriters, right? And this was in the 1870s. So this happened because of I guess before the keyboard used to be in alphabetical order, right? So it would go from A, B, C all the way to Z. But the problem with this was that people were typing too fast. And if you remember the old typewriters, you would punch a key and then that would make like this arm hit the paper with ink, right? So that's how you were able to write the text, right? The original way of writing the text, punching in the letters, and the letters would, make the words and the phrases, and that's how you would have your text. Now, I used to, I don't think I had typewriting in school, but I've had a typewriter when I was a kid. I don't know, just at the thrift stores, you could get a typewriter. And I used to mess around with it. And I remember that those typewriters would, like the arms of the typewriters would like lock themselves in there. And then you would have to like physically remove it. Physically, well, you would have to remove the arms and put them back in position so you were able to start typing again. So Christopher Latham came up with an elegant solution, which was like, okay, so people are typing too fast, and I don't know, instead of fixing the machine, he says, okay, we're gonna put the order of the letters in this order. So we're gonna move them around, and we're gonna try to make them as separate from the original alphabetical order in which they are in, right? This way, people have a harder time typing. And if when they have a hard, it's kind of funny, but when they have a harder time typing, it's gonna make them slower. Hence, the arms aren't gonna get all stuck and jammed up, right? So they'll be like, okay, where's the A? Here, boom, boom, boom. Okay, now I need the T, right? T, boom, right? At, okay, space, next. And that way, right, like the arms aren't gonna get jammed up. Okay, so all of this was because I was watching Debs, this series on Star, and in it, like I saw a keyboard, and this is just how I sometimes like ideas come to my head. Like I was seeing a keyboard, a computer keyboard, and I just thought for a second, like, why is the order of the keyboards like that, right? Like the letters in the keyboard, why are they in that order? So you know me, I got to investigating, and I did a lot of research with ChatGPT, but also with Google, and I found out about Christopher Latham, that he's the one that did this because of all these reasons, right? And then for me, and you know, it was kind of like, okay, I understand why it happened, and then at the end, if you look up, like, why is the keyboard not in alphabetical order, or why is a computer keyboard not in alphabetical order, it's going to give you this explanation because of the things jamming up. But then at the end, it's going to say something like, and then we went from typewriters to computers and computer keyboards, and then that order of keyboards just stayed that way, right? Like they just didn't change it because of tradition, right? And I was like, whoa, so you mean to tell me that it could be changed, but it's not being changed? Why, right? And I'm gonna get into that right now because I think it was an elegant solution, but with computers, it doesn't change, right? Now, they gave a couple of reasons. They say, first of all, it's tradition, right? Like it's like a human tradition, right? That now it's like if aliens came, and we were explaining them our way of life, and then they were to go like, why is the keyboard like that? And we would tell them like, oh, it's like that because when we had the typewriter, us humans, the keys would get jammed up or whatever, the arms. So then its inventor, created this like keyboard, right, where the letters aren't in alphabetical order, and that's why. And I bet you the aliens would probably ask like, well, okay, fine, but why don't you change it, right? And these are the type of explanations that we would have to give, right? Well, first of all, because of tradition and familiarity, right? Second of all, it's incompatible with our current computers and our current systems, right? So if you were to um, like change it right now to an alphabetical keyboard, not only would you have to retrain everybody, right? Because everybody's used to this like weird keyboard that we have, right? Which is thanks to Christopher. Um, but you would also have to like re-update all of the systems, right? And the hardware, like the physical keyboard, what would you do with that? Well, and you could say, well, if it's a desktop computer, just change it, swap it. But what about laptops, right? Where the physical key is there. So what are you gonna like change it? Like, and then for the program, for the software, you would have to like, it would be a mess. It's incompatible with the new computer designs, and it's also costly, right? So people aren't gonna want to do that. There have been alternatives. There was a Brorak, I think it's Dvorak or something like that. It's Dvorak in the 1930s, and Colmac. I think it's Colmac in 2006. So these people basically created a new keyboard thinking in terms of ergonomics. And ergonomics, I like the definition of ergonomics. I think it's funny. It's the way in which people and things interact, and it's making sure that the way in which us humans and things interact safely and efficiently, right? So ergonomics, I think, is something that you see when you talk about like ergonomic chairs, right? Like you have to sit in front of your computer or at your desk for long periods of time. So you need to make sure that you have a comfortable seat, that it's ergonomic, excuse me, that it's safe and efficient, and it's not going to give you long-term back problems or whatever, right? So that's what all of that takes care of. Ergonomics takes care of the relationship between us humans and things, right? Just ignore that. That's like a car passing by. Yeah, so these guys basically came up with keyboards that are more ergonomic than the one we currently have, right? And it makes me think like their systems haven't really been adapted. Now I don't know what system you use on your cell phone, for example. I know cell phones are a little bit different. The keyboard is different, I think, on a cell phone. But you do have this option to change it if you want. Now what we use a lot is called QWERTY, right? And just this morning I was looking up on Google like QWERTY, like to find out more information about it. And as I was typing it, my mind was blown, because you literally, to type QWERTY, you go from the Q is the first letter in the keyboard, in the QWERTY keyboard. So you go Q, and then the next one is W, and then the next one is E, and then R, and then T, and then Y. So it's QWERTY like that, right? And I think there's a song that's called like QWERTY, and there's another one that's called QWERTYUIOP ASDFGHJKL in Spanish, ZXZVBNM. And that's the order of the 3 rows of your keyboard, right? So I found that to be interesting. I don't know. So all of this is like, I was also asking ChatGPT, like, give me more things that, and for me, it's like kind of weird, because we're supposed to live in these progressive modern times where everything is changing, evolving, and whatever. And we still have the keyboard from 1870, right? From 150 years ago. We're still using the same keyboard. So I was like, that must have been one heck of an inventor to position himself like that. And nobody really thinks about this, because you just use a keyboard. You learn how to type in school. You probably learned this in school when when you're like in elementary school, but you don't remember as an adult. So now I re-researched it, And yeah, I think it's interesting that, so I was like, ChatGPT, what other things do we still do that are like old, right? And a lot of things are just like, marriage customs, or I don't even remember the other things, but they're not really like a keyboard, like the keyboard type of thing. So it's like, why haven't we adapted to like the alphabetical keyboard when we now can, because we no longer have the arms jamming problem, right? And that's why this video is called Resistant to Change, because we think we may be also adaptable and flexible. I think it was Charles Darwin who said, it's not the strongest that survive, it's the ones that are able to adapt the best, right? And it's like, and adapting to new things deals with change, right? But if we really think about it, we have a lot of things that we're probably not even aware of, that we are not willing to change, that we would be super resistant. I mean, just imagine a scenario where all of a sudden you tell the whole world, like, you know what, guys, we're not making the QWERTY, I think that's how you pronounce it, the QWERTY keyboards anymore. We're making alphabetical keyboards because, it's just weird to have QWERTY. Like, what is this keyboard, right? It doesn't even make sense. If you just look at a keyboard, it doesn't make sense. Why are the letters like that, right? And if you were to do that, I bet you everybody would probably like a top 80-90% would probably say, no, that's dumb, that's stupid, why? And it would be because of resistance to change, right? It would be resistance to change. Ultimately, they just wouldn't want to change because they would need to learn a new system, a new way of doing things, right? So that really makes you think about just how much change humans are really willing to accept, right? So let me know what you think. Do you know of any other things that we haven't really questioned, that are out there, that are just kind of weird, that maybe did have a solution at a certain or given moment because of the circumstances, but as things change, could be redone, but it's just that people are familiar with the way of doing things. I mean, that happens with many things, like very, very stark things, right? Like systemic racism and things like that, right? Like, it's just the way things are, right? So yeah, it kind of makes you reevaluate some stuff. Well, let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, peace.